Hello, loves. Thank you so much for joining me today. Um, just to let you know, I am recording this episode via video as well, which is going to be launching on my new membership. And so if you want to watch the podcast, you will be able to do that. So anyway, welcome to today's episode. Here we are just a few weeks from our holiday season, the first big holiday. And so, how are you feeling about this? I know that, the little stressors are starting to kind of creep into my own world. And so, I'm wondering if you're feeling the same way. Does this year feel different than last year? I know for me personally, last year was a little tough and we were all kind of struggling through the pandemic to make things feel a little bit more normal. So for me, this year feels a little bit better, a little bit lighter. And I also feel like I have a better handle on how I want to proceed into this holiday season. So I wanted to just share with you some holiday coping slash honoring our needs, even as we go into wanting to spoil other people and make Christmas or whatever holiday you celebrate, whether that's Hanukkah or Christmas or another holiday. We want to make it really special, right? For our families and for our children and for ourselves. Um, and and there are some people who don't, and that's totally fine. So if you're listening to this podcast and you do not celebrate any of these major holidays, that's fine too. These are still some great winter coping skills as well, because we will encounter different types of food. We encounter pressure to be at certain events and also to perform, gifting in a way that we are not used to the rest of the year. So what we're going to be discussing today is how to keep our vitamin D up, self-care importance, setting boundaries, and then also intuitive holiday eating. So I'm just going to start right off with vitamin D. Okay, so vitamin D helps us absorb calcium, magnesium, and phosphates. These nutrients help keep our bodies really strong. It helps keep our bones, teeth, and muscles healthy, and also helps regulate our mood and plays a role in regulating our immune system. So going from the summer months and being able to be outside all the time and have your windows open to wintertime where we don't have as much sun, a lot of people become deficient in vitamin D. This is also, if you're deficient in it, it is associated with an increase in autoimmunity issues and susceptibility to infections. We still have COVID running around, different variants of it. So I know that we all want to be super on point with especially our vitamin D and our supplement intake this winter. Now, I mean, if you're really good with making sure you get all the categories in your daily food intake, that's awesome. But I do recommend, especially through the winter time, kind of looking into taking things like vitamin D, zinc, and vitamin C. Those are going to be your three most important ones to focus on through the winter months. So let's look at what happens when you have low levels of vitamin D. It can cause fatigue and depression and muscle pain and impaired wound healing and damage to your kidneys. Really, really important stuff, guys. We really need to make sure our vitamin D levels are at their peak through these winter months. So the obvious first way that we can get our vitamin D is through the sunshine. And since the sunshine isn't going to be readily available to some people through the winter months, depending on where you live in the world and in the country. So other ways that you can get your intake, obviously supplements, right? I can link the supplements that I use below. If you don't know where to start, I just recommend looking for an organic brand and reading the reviews and reading how many studies they go through. Just really vet these vitamins, because you can be easily swindled when it comes to supplements. And sometimes you end up literally, you're just like, how do I put this lightly? You're pooping them out into the toilet. So you're paying for really nothing because they're not being absorbed. So make sure that they have been tested for absorption. Okay, so there are other ways that we can get our vitamin D, thankfully, through fatty fish like salmon, through egg yolks and yogurt. Mushrooms are my favorite way. Maitake, portobello, morel, button, And maitake mushrooms are the best mushrooms to get vitamin D from. All mushrooms are really amazing. And I will also link my favorite mushroom powder in the link below. It's one that I get on Amazon. It's called Thrive 6 mushrooms, and it's just got a whole host of them in a powder form that I put in my coffee, a really easy way, especially if you don't like to eat mushrooms. I personally do, so I just get a ton of mushrooms all year round, but through this time of year, very important. Another way is through fortified milks. This includes cow's milk, coconut milk, soy milk, and almond milk. And same with your yogurts. I prefer to eat almond yogurt. There's also soy yogurt. So those are also good ways for you to get your vitamin D. Tofu is actually a really good way. Soy, isn't that crazy? You do not have to be scared of soy. I know that there's been things circulating that you should not eat a ton of soy. Yes, in moderation, like with everything, but soy can actually be really good for you as long as you aren't allergic to it. I know some people that are, so make sure that's not you. Orange juice is another good way. And then, like I said, supplements. So we have fatty fish, egg yolk, yogurt, mushrooms, fortified milks, tofu, orange juice, and your supplements are great ways to get your vitamin D. The next thing we're going to talk about is your self-care. So, okay, my dears, we cannot run on empty, especially this time of year. We literally cannot be Santa to every person in our lives. So we need to take very seriously that we are taking care of ourselves first and not just becoming this martyr that is always, putting out their energy for everybody else and not focusing on what they actually need. So I have 5 tips or 5 things to look at when you are trying to make sure you have a good self-care routine through these winter months. Number 1, be realistic. What can you actually do? Be realistic with your energy, with your time, and with your mental and emotional space. What is realistic for you to do without having a mental breakdown, without putting yourself in a position that you could possibly get sick, without overextending yourself? Because those lead to stress on the body, and stress on the body leads to dis-ease in the body, your depression, your IBS conditions, for anybody who has irritable bowel syndrome. It can lead to flare-ups if you have something like Crohn's, colitis, or like myself, fibromyalgia. Outside stress can actually cause a flare-up, inflammation within my body if I'm not watching what I'm allowing into my life. So I know that, so I can watch for that. So you need to learn your cues and how far you can go and how far you should go. Okay, so number 1 was be realistic. Number 2, do something each day that fuels your heart and your soul. This is super important. And I'm going to keep saying it. I think I've said it in every single episode. Stillness and meditation or mindfulness, whatever you're calling it, that needs to be a priority. You need to give yourself time to be quiet and be still, not journaling, not doing, just being. Just giving yourself a few minutes to just breathe, put on your favorite meditation, your favorite music, or nothing at all, and fuel your heart and your soul. Say your prayers, whatever it is that you like to do to fuel your heart and soul. Make sure you are doing that every day. It can only be 5 minutes. It could be an hour, whatever you can do, but even 5 minutes is going to really help you. Number 3, learn when to let things go. So sometimes we think, remember, we are unrealistic and we think we can do more than we can do. And so we plan, and we buy, and then we realize that we have overextended ourselves. So this is when you need to take a step back and be able to say, I think I need to drop a couple things because I cannot realistically, while taking care of myself, do all of these things. So learn when to say no, even to yourself. Learn when to say, I really can't do that event. Or I really shouldn't host my annual Christmas party this year because with COVID and with family traveling in from all over the place, and I'm not making so much money at my job. I need to be realistic this year and just realize that that is not in my best interest. That is not going to help me get through this winter. It is not going to help me love others more fully because I can't love myself more fully if I do this thing. Do you understand what I'm saying? Make sure that you're being super realistic about what you can and cannot do, especially through the winter months, because we do not have sufficient vitamin D coming in. It's cold. We're more susceptible to infections, to sickness, to stress. People put a lot of expectations out there. So learn when to let things go. Number 4, basic needs. Let's meet our basic needs. Hydrate, sleep, move your body in some way, and eat in a way that feels really good to you. Find out the foods that make you feel super nourished and super loved and focus on them. Just basic needs. If you're wrapping presents and you realize your legs are cramping up, stand up, take a walk around, do some jumping jacks, do some yoga, go to the bathroom. I can't tell you how many times as a mom, I'm like, oh my God, I only have an hour before the kids get off the bus. And so I'm working. My legs are cramping up. I've had to pee for at least 30 minutes. And then I have to just say, whoa. Okay, when my body tells me that I have to go to the bathroom, do not put it off. As moms, we do this all the time. That's like your one freebie. Go to the bathroom, go pee. It's going to feel so much better. Stretch your legs. So listen to those body cues and just do those basic needs, okay? Hydrate, sleep, move your body, and eat in a way that feels really good. Number 5, if possible, pick one day off from doing anything, or at least schedule off hours. If you can't pick one day off, schedule off hours. Give me 1 second here. Sorry. Okay, so make it a priority to give yourself off hours, whether that can be a whole day or it just needs to be, okay, I am gonna promise myself that by, I don't know, let's say 10 p.m., 10:30, I'm gonna shut down. Whatever it is that I'm working on, whether it's holiday or Christmas gift ideas or my schedule for the next week, whatever it is, I'm gonna shut down at a certain time each night in order to do something really fun, in order to do something that fuels me back up. I mean, preferably it would be earlier than 10:30, but I know how we roll as moms. That's when we get stuff done. But make sure that you are not working into the wee hours of the night, because then you're not getting adequate sleep, and nobody wants a cranky, tired mom. Not even you. Okay. So next one that I wanted to talk about is boundaries. Okay, this is really, really important. Ask yourself again, what is realistic for you to do? How many events do you even want to attend? Thinking about sicknesses still going around. Do you want to be going out to multiple things right now? So anyway, these are my 3 questions to help me answer that question, if it is something I do or do not want to do. So oftentimes through the holiday season, we do a lot of stuff that feels like it is mandatory, right? Or we do a lot of things that feel like, well, it's tradition, like that kind of stuff. Tradition is all fine and good. I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. I'm not saying not to do that, but I am saying do not put tradition or your shoulds over top of your own well-being, okay? So the three questions that I ask myself if I'm going into a potentially stressful or toxic situation. 1, am I in a good mental and emotional space to be able to handle this said event, holiday party, or trip to see somebody? Can I handle this? Will it set me back? How is it going to affect me in the long run? Okay. So the first question is, am I in a good enough mental and emotional space to do said thing? Yes or no? If it's a maybe, think about it. The second question, can I drop any expectations for these people or loved ones? Say every time you go to Aunt Joe's house, she gets under your skin, she drives you crazy, there's toxic things happening, toxic people talking. You feel that you can't keep your peace. You have a really hard time keeping your like grounding and balance when you're there. You end up becoming a person you do not want to be when you are in their presence, or you go in expecting them to be healed, have grown, and treat you differently than they always have. Yet they've never shown you that they were capable of doing that. I'm not saying not to love that person. I am not saying not to go. But I am saying if you do decide that you're in a good mental place to go, can you drop the expectations you have on them? Can you not expect Aunt Joe to say things that are going to piss you off, or to perhaps not treat you the way you deserve to be treated? Can you just say, I'm just going in and, for my own reasons? And we'll get to that with question number 3. So first question was, am I in a good place mentally and emotionally? Second question is, can I drop any expectations I have on said person or people? Are you expecting things they are not capable of? Have they shown you they're capable of certain things? You can't go in expecting it if they have not. So we get ourselves hurt and disappointed and heartbroken when we go and saying, maybe this time they'll treat me the way that I think I deserve. And that's where you need to ask, like, is it worth going? Is this relationship something I want to continue? If it is yes, go on to question number 3. Can I set my own reasonable intention I know I'm capable of meeting? So you're going to go visit Aunt Joe. You're going to drop any expectation on her. You know Aunt Joe is going to be Aunt Joe, okay? She's going to be the person that she always is. But you really care about her. You really love her. And you want to shower her this holiday season. Your intention that you know you can meet, I'm going in to serve Aunt Joe in some way. I'm going to help her cook. My only intention is to go and love on her. I'm not looking for anything. I'm not expecting anything from her. I'm not wanting her to give me something or fill me up in a certain way. All I want to do is to serve her. All I want to do is to love on her or to bring her a little joy. Does that make sense? So you're taking control of the situation if it is something you still choose to do. And saying, this is what I believe I'm capable of. I know that I can meet this goal. So when you leave, you can say, that was a successful trip because I did what I intended to do. I wasn't looking for her to do anything for me. I went and I loved on her and I served her and I made her feel really loved by me. Win-win in my book. So those are my 3 favorite questions for boundary setting, especially through the holiday season, because your health and well-being is actually the most important thing. Nobody else is going to look out for that for you. Your kids aren't going to be like, Mommy, are you doing too much Christmas prep? You look like you need a nap. They're not going to say that. You have to know that you need rest. You have to know that you need to go to bed. You have to know that you need to drink water. You have to know that you have to get up and move your body, because no one else is going to tell you that. Now, some of us have amazing partners that will remind us these things, but like know it for yourself. Be aware of what you need for yourself. So just to recap for your boundaries, your 3 boundary questions are, am I in a good mental and emotional space to do said thing? Can I drop any expectations for these people? And can I set my own reasonable intention that I know I'm capable of meeting? The 3 magic questions for boundary setting. They are my favorite, and they have really guided me and served me as I have been able to serve other people in a way that is mentally and emotionally healthy for me. It's been really life-changing. And the final thought for going into these holiday times is intuitive eating. How can we intuitively eat through the holiday season? So intuitive eating is a lifestyle. And the first thought around intuitive eating is to hold no guilt or shame. Intuitive eating is focused on your well-being and how you feel, not how you look. It is not focused on weight loss. It is not to say you couldn't lose weight, but oftentimes you will fluctuate and gain and lose, and you find your body's natural place. So the whole thing is to find a place of love for yourself and your body, and know that you don't have to wait for the when to feel good in your body. Intuitive eating teaches you that you can feel good now, and you can learn, and it does take time. So the first rule, or not rule, they're not, intuitive eating isn't really rules. It's more awareness and really listening to your body. So no guilt or shame, which means you go in and you enjoy grandma's pumpkin pie because it's grandma's pumpkin pie and you love it and you want to eat it, and you don't need to earn it and you don't need to work it off the next day. And I'm not saying eat the entire pie. That's where the next thought comes in, to pay attention. Excuse me. The second thought is to pay attention to your fullness and hunger cues. This is one of the first things that you learn when you start your intuitive eating journey. You eat when you're hungry and you stop when you're full. Really novel, right? But we even do this through the holiday season. So we are going to pay attention, and now is a great time to start learning. If you are worried going into the holiday season that you are going to, binge on all that food, we will get to that thought later as well, because food is what? It's more than nutrition, right? So so just start paying attention to what your body feels like when it's hungry. Do you know those cues? Have you ever waited to feel hunger before you eat? And then also when you're full. So what I've been trying to do the last couple months, I guess, is to kind of like try and stop right before I would feel the full. Like I don't want to be peak full. I'm trying to like make it roomy, a little roomy. But it's taken me time to learn what that is for me. So my rule of thumb for myself is when I'm eating, I pay attention to when I stop enjoying the bite. So if I'm chowing down on, let's say, some pizza, and my old self would not want to waste the pizza because I don't eat it very often. And so I would eat as much of it as I possibly could because it's there now and I'm never going to have it ever again. But now, if I get to a point where I'm realize that I'm doing it on autopilot, or I'm chewing and I'm not even enjoying the flavor anymore, I tell myself it's okay to set it down. We are not the clean your plate club anymore. Okay. A lot of us grew up that way, but part of intuitive eating is listening to your body, not to the food rules. Okay. We're listening to the body, and that changes for every meal as well. So pay attention to your fullness and hunger cues. Really start playing around with that. There is no failure here or success. It's learning. It's always learning, but we'll get to that. So the first thought was no guilt and shame. Enjoy. Enjoy what comes with this season. The second thought was pay attention to your fullness and hunger cues. The third thought is that food is more than hunger, especially around this time of year. Food is also connection and nostalgic. So just be aware. Try to know why you're choosing something. It is actually okay if you're not hungry, but you're at your grandma's house and she made her pumpkin pie and you need to taste it. You want to eat it. She made it for you and do it. That's okay. There's no guilt and shame, remember? But you are aware, you know that you are eating when you're not necessarily at hunger time, but also you're going to pay attention and eat, not past that full cue. That's okay. So just one of the main concepts is having a lot of compassion for yourself and a lot of love for your body. So food is connection, food is nostalgic, food does nourish us. It's all the things. So just bring in the whys, bring in the awareness of why you're choosing what you're choosing and move on from there. And then the fourth thought that I have through intuitive eating is each eating session is a learning opportunity. Remember how I said it's not a fail or success? I eat past full, I still do, but I now notice that. I notice the way my body feels. And then I ask myself, does this feel good? Usually, no. Or certain foods that I keep trying to eat. Does that food make me feel good? I keep eating it. Does it actually like serve me and make me feel good? If the answer is no, and I'm noticing that, the more I notice that, the more I bring that into my awareness, even if I eat it 10 more times, and every time I notice that I don't feel good when I eat it, eventually you're going to be like, I don't want that anymore. So intuitive eating is not about eating whatever you want, whenever you want, regardless of the health of your body and the food itself. No, it is slowly but surely paying attention to what your body is telling you about the food. Is it an emotional eating? Do you think you're never going to have it again? Does it feel like you're panic eating? Are you eating past full? Why? Is it because you think you're never going to have that food again? Is it because you starved yourself all day? Is it because you had smoothie, and then you get to the kids' bedtime and it's like a free for all? We've all done that, right? Netflix and empty the snack cupboard. So it's just really starting to pay attention and not seeing anything as a failure, but a learning opportunity. Every time you eat is not fail or success, but a learning opportunity for you to tap into your body and pay attention. And I'm going to say it loud for the people in the back. It is normal to gain weight in the winter. Did you hear that? It is normal to gain weight in the winter. We do it every winter. Most people gain weight in the winter, and we all think we have failed. That is not the case. Most living animals gain weight for the winter. Now, as people, we can become more aware and live our lives in a way that is serving our bodies and fueling our bodies. But there's nothing wrong with you if you start gaining weight in the cold winter months, especially if you live in a cold area. It's actually very, very normal and a good thing. It's heat, it's warmth, it's comfort, it's cushion. So I just want you to remember that there's nothing wrong with you. This is a hibernation season. The earth runs in cycles, our bodies run in cycles, and that is a gain and loss cycle as well. And last but not least, this cycle in nature heading into winter is one of rest and dormancy, not just for the plants, not just for the animals, but for you. It is a time of slow growth or no growth at all. sometimes you can't even see the progress that is happening. It is a time of stillness and quiet, especially those of us that live in areas where it snows. When that first snowfall comes, it's just so quiet. I love it. You can embrace this too. You can lean into that dormancy, to that stillness. And you can really use this time of year to slow down. I think this is why a lot of us end up like burning out or getting really stressed out, because we go, 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 sometimes even more in the winter than we are in the summer. But that is not how our bodies were designed. Give me 1 second. This will all be cut out in the actual podcast, but I've not yet learned how to edit my videos. Okay. So I really this year want to myself lean into the hibernation season. And that means slowing down. So I actually put through my month of December, like, nope, in my calendar. It's a big, long nope, a big red block. Nope, 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 nope. Because as much as possible, when I'm going to my calendar, I want to remind myself that I do not want to overschedule. I want to do as little as possible other than, hanging out with family. Because I know that I am more prone to stress and depression this time of year. I know my patterns in December. And so I really want to honor that because I've paid attention, because I've noticed what happens to me in the winter months. It's taken time. I didn't know this right away. I had to learn it. I had to become aware. I had to pay attention. One of my favorite things to do for New Year's is to go into it very slowly. So my favorite way to spend the New Year's holiday is almost doing nothing. Some years we go up to the Adirondacks and it's very slow up there. So we're like sitting by a fire, sipping hot cocoa or coffee. It's just, you're like snowed in and there's nowhere to go, nowhere to be. And it's just really like meditative and really healing. So whether I can go up there or I'm here at home, I don't really have people over anymore. I used to like to go to parties and hold my own New Year's Eve parties. I don't really do that anymore. If my kids are with me, maybe we'll do something early in the evening, but I like to start the new year really slow. Ideally, I like to have like 3 days around New Year's and New Year's Eve and stay home and do nothing, go nowhere, make no plans. And even if I'm up in the Adirondacks, I'm just like in a cabin or in a lodge doing nothing. That feels the best way for me to go into my new year really intentionally and to be able to set the intentions that I want to set and to just kind of reflect on what I learned over the year, what worked for me, what didn't, what things am I letting go, what new things do I want to bring in, or just resting or like nothing at all. So those are my tips for you going into the holiday season. I will recap them really briefly for you. So we talked about getting your vitamin D sources in, your salmon, your fatty fish, egg yolks, mushrooms, fortified milks, and tofu, orange juice, and supplements, and sunshine as much as possible. Your self-care, be realistic with what you can do. Do one thing each day that fuels your heart and soul. Learn when to let things go. Hydrate, sleep, move your body, eat in a way that feels really good, and pick off hours or an off day every week to fuel yourself back up. And then we talked about boundaries and how to keep those wellness boundaries for ourselves by these 3 questions. 1, am I in a good mental and emotional space for this? 2, can I drop any expectations for this? And 3, can I set my own reasonable intentions I know I'm capable of meeting? And then the last thing we talked about was intuitive eating. So the first thought was no guilt or shame through eating. Enjoy those holiday foods, right? Enjoy all those nostalgic foods. The second thought was pay attention to fullness and hunger cues. Start practicing that now. The third thought was we know we use food for more than hunger and nourishing. It's also connection and nostalgia. So just become super aware of that and do what feels good. Listen to your body, listen to your heart, but definitely still pay attention to the fullness cues. And then the fourth thought was use each eating session as a learning opportunity. What did you learn from that? What did your body tell you that you can maybe pay attention to that will ping in your mind next time? And then my last thought for this episode was this is a season of rest. This is supposed to be a season of slowing way down, just like all the plants do under the ground. They slow down to a crawl. There's barely any movement. We can't even see what's happening under the surface. It almost looks like nothing is happening at all because they are in rest mode. They're nurturing. The soil is giving them things. They're resting. They're getting ready for the next spring to bloom stronger and more beautiful. And we can do that as people too. So thank you so much for listening today. If you are joining me live and watching the video, hello, thanks so much for being here. I hope that you've gotten something out of this episode. I feel really good about this one just because I feel it's reminders that we all need. And hopefully you've also learned something new. Please pass this on to anybody that comes to mind as you're listening if you think they could benefit from this episode. I love you guys. You are amazing. I have like the best listeners. Thank you so much for being here. And yeah, blessings for this season. And we will be talking again soon. Take care, guys. Goodbye.